The oil change is the cornerstone of DIY maintenance, and it's an easy way to save yourself both time and money. In this video from the MC Garage, I'll walk you through the process. The oil and filter change is one of the most important pieces of maintenance there is, and it's the single best way to protect your motorcycle's engine. But to change your oil, you're gonna need a few supplies. If your bike doesn't have a center stand, you're gonna want a rear stand or a front wheel chock. You're also gonna need a drain pan to collect the old oil, some gloves and rags to keep things clean, a funnel for pouring in the new oil, and if you don't have a beastly grip, you're gonna want a strap wrench to get the old filter off. And of course, you're gonna want oil and filter appropriate for your motorcycle. That information can be found in your owner's manual. The best time to change your oil is after the bike has been warmed up, but you're gonna wanna give it 10 or 15 minutes to cool down so you're not working with scalding hot oil. Once you've got your bike up on a stand like this, you're gonna wanna take a rag and wipe down the engine around the oil filter and the drain plug. Once you have the area cleaned up, go ahead and put your drain pan under the engine and then crack your drain plug loose. All right, now you can unscrew the drain plug by hand, but position your arm so that it's not in the way of the oil that's about to come pouring out of the engine. If you don't drop this guy in the drain pan and you don't get oil all over your arm, you're doing a great job. It's always a good idea to keep some rags handy in case you spill any oil, and typically if I'm doing this in the driveway, I'll put a big piece of cardboard down so I don't stain the ground. Once the oil is drained out of the engine, it's time to remove the oil filter. Sometimes you can just grab that thing and spin it off, but more likely than not, you're gonna need a filter wrench like this universal strap wrench from Motion Pro. Go ahead and pour whatever oil you can out of the filter, then wipe it off and set it aside. All right, now it's time to install your new oil filter. What you're gonna wanna do is take your rag and wipe the sealing surface for the oil filter clean. Then, take your new filter and apply a little bit of oil to the sealing O-ring on the bottom so that it spins on smoothly. Get your filter started by hand. Spin the filter on until you feel the O-ring touch the mating surface, and then turn it another 1/2 to 3/4 of a turn. No more than that. You don't want to over tighten your oil filter or you could risk damaging the seal. Also, this particular filter, it's a high flow, it's got a nut on the end. That's for removing the filter, not tightening it. If you're gonna use that to tighten it, make sure you use a torque wrench. All right, now that your oil filter is installed, take your drain plug, wipe it off, and give the sealing washer a look. Your owner's manual will always recommend replacing the sealing washer, but I'm not gonna lie. If this thing's not chewed up, I usually just flip it over and reuse it. So, the easiest way to screw up an oil change, besides forgetting to put oil back in the engine, is to over tighten this guy. The drain plug is steel, the engine is aluminum. If you over tighten the drain bolt, the threads on the bolt are gonna win out over the threads on the engine. So please, don't go all Dwayne Johnson when you tighten this thing down. Use a torque wrench and the appropriate torque, which is usually 14 to 16 foot-pounds. If you've got a good idea of what that feels like, go ahead and use your box end wrench to snug the bolt down. Okay, now it's time to pour in that fresh golden oil. Make sure that you're using the correct quantity and grade as listed in your owner's manual. Once you've added fresh oil, go ahead and start the bike and let it idle for a few minutes. Then turn it off and check the oil level. Also, check the filter and the drain plug for leaks. Finally, you're gonna wanna recycle your used oil and filter. You can usually take it to any auto parts store and they're gonna be happy to take that stuff off your hands. All right, so you might be wondering, how often should you change your oil? Here's my take. Unless you're racing, there is no reason to change your oil more frequently than what is recommended in your owner's manual. Doing so is just a waste of resources. Also, if you're wondering about the difference between synthetic, semi-synthetic, and mineral oil, we're gonna cover that. So stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.